The world of construction is in the middle of this massive, massive shift. With all the new demands around ESG, investors, builders, entire organizations, they're all hunting for materials that are sustainable and profitable. So today, we're going to explain why one of the oldest building materials out there, timber, is actually turning out to be the most strategic choice for the future. If your organization is even thinking about building, you're going to want to see this. Let's dive in.
So here's our game plan. First, we're going to look at the why, this global push for green investment that's changing everything. Then we'll get into the how, what gives timber its unique environmental edge. After that, we'll look at the very real impact on people and productivity. And crucially, how you can prove it all with cold, hard data. And finally, we'll tie it all together with this powerful concept of the triple bottom line.
All right, let's kick things off with the green investment mandate. And look, the most important thing to get right off the bat is that the debate is over. The conversation has completely shifted from if we should build sustainably to how we're going to do it. This isn't a choice anymore, it's a global imperative. Those big global commitments to hit net zero emissions by 2050, well, they're putting incredible pressure on every single industry. And the building sector, which is a huge source of greenhouse gases, is right at the center of it all. What this means is we have to fundamentally rethink the materials we use and move away from those old high-emission processes.
But here's the thing. This regulatory push isn't just about rules and compliance. It's creating some massive economic opportunities. Just take Vietnam as a perfect example. Their government is actively building a $6 billion domestic timber market. Now, that's not just some environmental target, right? That is a crystal clear signal to businesses and investors, showing them exactly where the smart money is headed.
So that brings us right to the E in ESG, the environment. And this is where timber has an absolutely unique advantage. We're not just talking about producing fewer emissions, we're talking about actively removing carbon from the atmosphere. It's a total game changer. This four-stage process is exactly why people call timber a carbon removal machine. So first, the trees literally breathe in CO2 and store it to grow. Simple. Second, turning that tree into timber is way less energy intensive than making steel or concrete. Third, and this is the magic part, that carbon stays locked inside the finished building for its entire life. And finally, with sustainable forestry, new trees are planted, and the whole amazing cycle starts all over again. This slide really puts it in black and white. On one side, you have steel and concrete, major sources of industrial pollution. We all know that. But on the other side, you have softwood. For every single cubic meter you use, you're not only avoiding the emissions from the other guys, you are also storing carbon that's already been pulled out of the air. It's an incredible double win. Let's put a hard number on that, just to be clear. 2 tons. That is the total carbon saving for every single cubic meter of softwood you use instead of steel or concrete. Now imagine scaling that up across an entire building. The numbers just become staggering. This is a real, verifiable, and quantifiable advantage that speaks directly to any organization's ESG goals. Okay, now for the S in ESG, social. Because a building isn't just a structure, right? It's where people spend their lives, where they work. And it turns out, building with timber has a proven positive impact on our health, our well-being, and even our productivity. And hey, you don't have to take my word for it. Just look at what some of the biggest corporations in the world are doing. This quote here says it all. Google's offices are wood buildings because it's been shown they lead to higher concentration, better moods, and more productivity. Now, for a company as data-obsessed as Google, you know that's not just some random design choice. That is a strategic investment in their people and their bottom line. And the science behind this is pretty fascinating. Being around wood has real physiological effects. It can actually lower your blood pressure and reduce stress. It's a lot like the feeling of being out in nature. Plus, wood naturally helps regulate the humidity indoors, making the whole environment healthier. For any organization, what does all this add up to? A healthier, happier, and yes, a more productive workforce. So we've got these clear environmental benefits, and we've got clear social benefits. But for investors, for stakeholders, just making claims isn't enough. They need proof. And that brings us to the G, governance. How do you actually measure, verify, and report these advantages? Well, the key tool here is something called a life cycle assessment, or LCA. And this isn't just a quick carbon calculation. Oh no, this is a comprehensive cradle-to-grave analysis that looks at the total environmental impact and cost of a material through its entire life. And an LCA is incredibly thorough. I mean, just follow the path here. It covers every single stage, from getting the raw material out of the ground, through processing and transport, the building's entire 60-year lifespan, and even what happens at the end, deconstruction and reuse. This is exactly the kind of holistic, data-driven proof that investors are demanding. It proves timber's lower carbon footprint and its long-term cost savings.
Okay, so let's pull all these different threads together. We've talked about the environmental case, the social case, and the governance case. What happens when you combine all three? Well, you get a really powerful business strategy that delivers wins across the board.
It's a concept known as the triple bottom line, and it's a framework that basically says true success isn't just about profit anymore. It's about how you perform across three key pillars: people, planet, and profit. And, as we've just seen, timber construction is kind of unique in its ability to deliver a clear, decisive win on every single one. So at the end of the day, what is the ultimate investment payoff for your organization? Well, it's a stronger brand with a much, much lower carbon footprint. It's better long-term financial returns. It's a more productive and healthier team. And the best part? It's all backed by verifiable data from LCAs that will satisfy the toughest ESG reporting standards. It really is the whole package. So, we'll just leave you with this question. The future of construction is here. It's sustainable, it's human-centric, and it's driven by data. The evidence for timber is clear. It's compelling. So the only question left is your organization built for that future? Thanks for joining us for this explainer.